So I wanted to just share the message that I'm seeing this pattern in the spiritual community, and the pattern is that a lot of the starseeds that were sent in here, because we had such hard lives and we had to, as some people would say, pay up front for so much karmic stuff that might not even be ours. It might be like our families and that kind of thing. So because we had to do that, we've had such hard lives, most of us, there's this tendency to fall. They have certain pitfalls, okay? So there's certain traps where people will get, where are you looping is basically what I'm saying. So the dark forces are very good at recognizing when you have certain abilities, when you start to wake up, okay? There's like a frequency threshold, and when you spike up suddenly and your frequency goes way up, they can easily detect that, and they'll send agents to like stop it. They'll send distractions, they'll send lures. And so what I wanted to tell you, let me find a pen here, okay. Well, what I wanted to tell you is that you need to be very aware that they want you to not know who you are, because when you don't know who you are, that they can then step in and tell you what role they want you to play, and they can step in and tell you who you are, because you don't know, and you're not going to prove them otherwise. You're not going to prove them wrong. You're just going to do whatever they suggest to you very strongly with their massive persuasion methods all over the media and everything else. And I mean, sometimes you can play along. Like, I mean, everybody loves playing dress up. Like, everybody loves playing dress up. But what I'm talking about is like when you don't allow people to distract you from who you are on the inside. So your external costume might change appearance depending on where you're at in life and what your individual mission is and what you're doing. But on the inside, that's where you never forget who you are. So a lot of times they want you to forget what your past lives are, because if you knew about your past lives and what you were doing and what you have been striving to do, so you see, like, your soul is not on a journey of like one lifetime, like, oh, this lifetime I'm going to learn this. No, you can experience different things, and the way that this experiment was designed was, I mean, there's so many different purposes. Part of it is helping to distill the spirit, and like, it teaches certain souls about the law of one and just being at one with all and respecting free will and all of that. And it was supposed to be this cool creative playground. Things went massively wrong a very long time ago, if you compare it, if you believe in time right now. Let's just say a long time ago. And so we actually got sucked into a black hole quadrant of the universe, or we're about to be sucked into it, and we're basically in a pocket of the universe that has been trapped for a very, very long time. And so a lot of starseeds came in here to try to, and we've been here for a very long time as well, to try to help speed up the process, to try to help wake up the ones that were stuck in here. And then because we got so enmeshed in this whole thing, thinking that we could fix it in certain ways, we got stuck here as well. And so you cannot understand your journey as a starseed by simply looking at one lifetime. So here's the pitfalls that I keep seeing all over the media right now. One of them is that they want you to focus on manifesting. So like, manifest this, manifest that. Okay, like, that's great. Yes, a lot of us have had like really terrible lifetimes where we're just like, can we please just live a peaceful life? Like, I just want peace. You know, I've thought about so many times when I was getting massively attacked, and I was literally like, wow, like, all I want is peace. Like, why are all these things attacking me, right? And that's just the nature of it all. And so that's what we want. Like, it's easy for us to fall into the trap of, okay, it's almost like when you're about to exit the matrix, or when you're exiting a computer program, right? And then the matrix is like, but wait, let me offer you a key role in our construct over here. How about we make you part of the fake false gods, and you can be a goddess or a god, and we'll give you all this money and all these planets and all these ships and all these empires for you to rule, and we'll give you whatever you want. You know, like, they're literally offering to give you, especially like an indigo, a highly coded starseed, everything that you want, because they don't want you to exit the matrix. Because when you exit and when you teach others how to do it, it's like you're recalling your soul family, right? So sorry, I think I contoured my nose a little too much, but anyways, when you exit the matrix, you take so much energy with you. And like, I don't know if you saw my other video, but I was talking about how, like, when we get ourselves into alignment, it's literally like a game of Tetris. So it's not just you that's exiting, it's all of your identities, okay? Like, all over. Like, there's literally so many indigos that have been tracked, and I don't even really want to just say indigos, because I'm just gonna say highly coded starseed souls, that they are hooked into these false grids, and they're literally like sucking your energy out. And it's almost like there's like a false Christ grid, which is really, it has to do with the crucifixion and all of that. And I don't like getting too religious about it, but it has to do with the Guy and Ryan Wars, and when they impaled a bunch of highly coded angelic beings that are still impaled upon this grid, that they basically siphoned all of this electricity out of. And so these beings, it's literally made of beings that have been like sacrificed and they're highly coded beings in this other part of the universe. And so when you actually learn to heal wherever it is you are within this whole quantum matrix, and you decide to take all of your identities and bodies with you, you literally massively shift the system, because now it has to make up and recalibrate for the loss of you and all of your identities and all of the loot that they were stealing from you and all of these other beings. And so they don't want you to do that. So of course they're going to offer you all kinds of things like, oh wait, let's create a heavenly paradise here right now, when really you're not here to learn how to manifest. Why would you come from the God world to learn how to manifest in this 3D, like very low level? It doesn't make any sense. Okay, the only reason why you're stuck in trying to manifest is because you want the suffering to stop, and they purposely make people suffer so that you want their solution. Do you get it? It's like they cause a problem, they cause a slave system, and they're like, wait, you don't have to be a slave, come and hang out with me, and you know what I mean? So they don't like that. So you can get stuck as a starseed in the manifestation loop. You can manifest, but that's not the goal. Okay. The other thing is, a lot of times they will get the so with the manifestation thing, it's not it's almost like, you know, the system is corrupt, right? So now they want to crown you within the system so that you don't take down the system, if that makes sense. And a lot of starseeds that can't see through that don't want to be part of the system at all, and so they struggle with like money and all kinds of other things because they don't want to be part of a corrupt system that they came here to dismantle. And it's perfectly understandable if that's one of you, but that's why we need each other. We need to help each other to thrive as a community. And something that I also keep seeing within the starseed communities that have been trying to get built within the Krystic movement, within Galactic science, within like the freedom teachings, within all these different movements, is that there's so much like dividing, and why aren't you guys seeing that that is part of the negative alien agenda, to just prevent us from coming together and forming communities where we can help each other to thrive within the system and outside the system? So we could literally have our own like world within a world. We could create our own financial system, we could create our own, and still be part of the regular one, but we would just have access to other things. So anyways, there's so many different things that we could do that are not getting done because people are stuck pointing fingers at each other and saying like, oh, you're evil, or like you have Anunnaki coding, or you have like, I don't know, like Wizardrak coding, and we don't want to associate, and then they just like instantly block you. Or like, I mean, this has happened to me where people literally think that I'm evil, and they don't understand that I'm actually trying to help save us all the way that you are and the way that many of us have been trying to do. So shutting the door in people's faces is not the answer. What we need to do is come together and form our own community and have open discussions about what we think is actually happening, and not just like close the doors. We need to support each other financially, because if we don't support each other financially and if we don't collaborate together, then we don't really have a choice but to be part of the matrix, where if we do collaborate, we have the ability to help each other to thrive and be both part of the matrix, while we help to create better systems, and at the same time create a better system together the way that we were meant to do it. And I really want you to remember that the real mission is freedom, and it has always been freedom from enslavement of any kind. Pitfall number 2 that I'm seeing is that, so in addition to doing the whole like divide and conquer thing, and preventing us from uniting and offering us like all of this manifestation glamour, the other pitfall that I really see is a whole like twin flame trap. Okay, like I know that we were not created to be to not be whole. Like that's like, yes, there's some, I feel like there's some souls that did come in to work together in a very specific way, and yet because people are chasing this twin flame type of love, they tolerate very toxic relationships. They tolerate a lot of dynamics that they wouldn't otherwise be tolerating at all, and they are keeping starseeds from really focusing on their mission, because they're chasing all of these so-called twin flames in a way, and it's causing a lot of emotional pain, a lot of loosh, and that kind of thing. Whereas it's not that you're just supposed to find your twin flame. Like, you can, and some souls are coded for that, but the majority of souls, I think that you would know if that is part of your soul mission, which sometimes it can be, but it's not necessary for you to complete your mission. It's mostly like, be on mission, and then your soulmate person that you're supposed to work with will find you, or you'll find each other. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be any obstacles or things coming against you to prevent such a connection, but it just means that that's not your primary focus. A lot of times the reason that we come together in the first place is because there's an initial attraction. So different ET races and the Guardians have tried to get people together, initially making it impulsing us through attractive forces. Attraction, repulsion, okay, that's what it all is. So they use these forces that they know humans are very susceptible to, that we all tend to gravitate towards each other because there's that initial desire. But sometimes it's not supposed to progress into an actual relationship. Sometimes it's just there's that initial desire that brings two people together, and then they realize what the relationship is really supposed to be about, which usually they're supposed to accomplish something together. So instead of just hyper focusing on fixing a relationship that's not working, on trying to find your twin flame, on tolerating BS that you really shouldn't be tolerating, you're just supposed to be on your mission, and then everyone that's supposed to find you is supposed to find you, especially if they're not on their whole like divide and conquer trip. So that's another pitfall. Like I saw it so clearly when I just like go up really high in vibration, and it's like this loosh, it goes up very high. And that's what you have to remember about these things. It's like you can vibrate at a certain level and certain things won't affect you because they're not vibrating high enough, but they're still, even at like, let's say 11.618, okay? And there's a very specific reason for that. There's still a lot of distortions up to those levels. And so you just have to be very aware that that is another pitfall that they're using to try to target indigos. Another one that I'm seeing, so that was number 2, right? So the first one is more like divide and conquer manifestation trap. The second one is kind of manifestation trap, which is the underlying belief that you aren't whole onto yourself and that you have to find something external to you and try to like trap them or try to do something with them. A lot of times there might be like an initial attraction, but what you're really supposed to do is be on mission together with a team of people or with certain souls, and you will find each other, and you just have to be aware of that. And I think that you would just know, like, if this is part of your mission, what you're supposed to do, like, you will just know. And a lot of times I'm drawn to people for very specific reasons, and then as soon as we do the soul clearing of whatever we're supposed to do together, it's no longer like such a huge driver, right? Because there's so many different things that we're meant to do as a soul team, as a soul family, that you're not necessarily supposed to be in the same dynamics with the same person forever. It's supposed to be like, what are we here to accomplish? What are we here to clear? You do that. And then some of us signed up to have that kind of mission in this lifetime where it's like you accomplish the thing that you're supposed to accomplish with someone, and then you continue to expand the mission. And if you can't expand it together, then you're going to have to leave and find other ways of expanding it with the other teammates that you're supposed to find. Sometimes you can do it with one person. It just depends. Like I said, it's very individual, and you would know which soul you are. But what I am saying is, don't get caught up in this like twin flame soulmate trap, because it is a trap that keeps most people looping. Like I said, they want to keep people trapped and looping within certain bandwidths of vibration and certain mental patterns. So it is very much an energy and frequency war, where they know that highly coded angelic beings have huge hearts and we love people so deeply. They know that if they hurt others, like, we might feel it. They know that we don't want others, bad things to happen to people. We don't, we have this heart response, and they can take advantage of that. And so the counter effect of that is that the guardians have been getting smarter about what kind of indigo groups they're sending in here. This is why we're so hybridized, because we have tried to activate all of the tribes and all of the DNA for angelic humanity, for us to be stewards of the planet, of this galaxy, of this universe, really, at certain levels. But we can't get there if we have this very definitive, like, divide and conquer and not accepting of other things. Like, we're hybridized because certain beings have characteristics that are very useful for us. So for example, like the first few angelic beings that they sent into these worlds just like nearly died instantly because they couldn't stand it here. Like, this is awful compared to like heavenly realms. It really is. And so hybridization has been a thing that's been ongoing, because it's like, how do we code a being to be able to walk within the darkness and not be affected by it so severely that they that they become addicted to things, that they completely like derail their own personal mission and their own part of it? How do we code someone to be able to fully remember what their mission is, still have heart, still be able to feel, but maybe not be so drastically affected by the human drama that they can't function? Okay, because a lot of very sensitive beings are in that phase of being so sensitive that they can't really function very well in the world. And sometimes you might oscillate between different versions of that. But that's why we're hybridized, so that we can ascend it together. So because there are contracts for us to help assimilate and help other beings who have contracts with the guardians to ascend out of this matrix, who have realized that they don't want to be part of a fallen system anymore. They don't want to be ruling slaves. They don't want to be part of the whole slave thing. And so they have contracts with the guardians, and so sometimes they will have other angelic beings come in here, and they've created specific lineages of beings who are very good at hybridizing with certain strains and certain races to be able to help each other to ascend and take the best of both worlds and advance everyone's angelic agenda, let's say. So, so that's the other pitfall that I was saying, that people get trapped in believing that they are not whole and that they have to go out there and find their twin flame, when what you really need is to be on your mission. And if that's part of your mission, to be with your twin flame or whatever you want to call it. I don't even want to use that word because it pulls up so much karmic debris, I want to say. And I do believe that in this lifetime we're here to resolve a lot of the past trauma and past karmic stuff and to fulfill soul contracts, but they are so individualized and that we have so many beings to work with that it's going to be very different for everyone, and not everyone fits into one type of relationship mold. We have to have different kinds because our missions require that of us. We're supposed to work with different people and accomplish different things in different ways. And so no matter what, it's like if you took a wrong turn, God's going to reroute you. So no matter where you are at in your mission, just know that God is rerouting you and bringing you the right people that will help you to advance, even if the people that signed up to work here with you aren't remembering, or they're not working, or they choose to go a totally different route. Okay, you're being helped by God's source. Okay, and just because I really want to be clear about this, I'm not saying that it's bad to want your twin flame. I'm not saying that it's bad to want to manifest things. I'm not saying that you can't have a nice, beautiful, happy, fun life here. What I am saying is that we're in a fallen matrix system, and we need to be really careful, especially those of us that are really highly coded, because there's a lot of tricks and a lot of traps. And we have to approach the situation and the mission knowing that there's those pitfalls and not to fall into them. So here's a quick tip that I'm going to give you. You have to learn how to detach from everything. So that means that a lot of times, like say for example, like if you're even being attached to your mission and to having a successful mission, to doing your role, right? Like that's what you came here for. Even being attached to that can cause issues and problems, because your attachment to the success of your mission, yes, it gives you drive, but that drive is supposed to be an internal drive that pushes you to be inspired. That it's like the drive gives you the energy to birth through you, to move the currents of God's source, life force energy through you, and you move on your own. Where we go wrong with this, and I'm definitely guilty of this as well, I've done all of these things, that's how I know about them. When we are so attached to the mission that we go and chase after people that we know we're supposed to interact with, or that are part of the mission as well, and we want to specifically wake them up because we know we're supposed to be doing stuff with them in regards to our mission. So that's where we start to go wrong, because then the person gets the idea that you're chasing them as a person, where the real driver is the mission and how you know that they're supposed to be doing something with you if they so choose. But they can exert their free will and decide that after all they might not want to be part of it, and that's okay. Like they have that free will. So that's what I'm saying. Like the number one thing would probably be that we have huge hearts, okay? So they have taken that into account and made us feel so much pain whenever we choose to activate the heart, that we a lot of us have become very guarded about our hearts and the way that we interact with people, the way that we give our love, the way that we give and receive love. And also the dark forces have taken parts of our heart coding, and their whole excuse and thing is like, oh, let everybody in, love everybody, have no discernment at all because everything is love and light and everything's transmuted by love. Yes and no. When you get to a certain level, like avatar level of transmutation, you can transmute through unconditional love, but unconditional love still requires you to be an active force of love in action, meaning that your actions are aligned with the preservation of freedom and of all life, because that is like the number one gift that we all have from our source, is freedom. So whenever our freedom is taken from us, we have the right to, and we should defend it, that we have that. And again, everything that I'm saying, even though I sound very passionate about it, and I am so passionate about this, we still have to become detached. It's like, be passionate take the action, do the thing internally by yourself. And this is one of the hardest things that I'm learning currently, which is like, stop trying to wake certain people up or trying to get them to see your version or your idea of the mission or your particular piece. Because if they don't recognize it, then like that's just where they're at, and maybe they don't want to. Maybe they've changed their mind about how they want to go about interacting in these ways. That's okay. Again, you have to like detach. And so, because that's another thing, because our hearts are so big and we love so much and so fully, and we're so devoted to our mission, we're so devoted to our soul family, we're so devoted to our team, they have wanted to infiltrate our hearts, control who we love, that kind of thing. Literally have sacrificed and tore our hearts out in certain lifetimes. We have certain ET strains that are able to detach more fully from the heart temporarily, while certain things need to be done. So like if someone's constantly trying to emotionally manipulate you or guilt trip you into something, you have the ability to detach and not be emotionally manipulated, not be emotionally blackmailed in any way. So this is actually part of the hybridization that a lot of us have undergone. It's not because you're evil, it's not because you don't feel, it's not because you don't have a heart. It's because it helps the mission, where they know that if you're going to be dealing with certain very vampiric forces or very evil people, you need to have a certain level of detachment. So how does that manifest in the human world? In this world where like everything is so backwards, that means that like you have to be, a lot of times we have to be cracked open out of our regular programming, the regular matrix programming, which means that you had to face a lot of really hard things. So for example, with the emotional manipulation, if you want to be immune to emotional manipulation, then that means that probably at some point people in your life tried to do that to you, and then you learned how to overcome it and how to like detach, okay? So that is actually an asset that can be applied to your Krystic mission. So it's not, so maybe you can, what happens is that you're able to activate certain parts of your DNA coding as needed, when needed, because of the hybridization, which serves both agendas of like the different teams. So you can be manipulated by the negative dark forces into becoming part of their team, or joining them in a certain way, doing stuff for them, or they will like drive you crazy, or like do, not really like literally, but they'll do a bunch of things to try to impede your mission. So they can try to tap in through your DNA strands that are still connected, but if you have enough discernment, you're able to stop it. And you're still, because you have the DNA, you're able to only activate certain parts of that DNA strand when you need it. So if you need emotional detachment, you can do that. If you need anything else, you can do that, okay? And that's why we are hybridized, because it helps us all to fulfill the mission. But again, it's driven by the core desire for us to complete our assignments and remember that the real mission is freedom. It's not manifestation. And so here's the other thing. It's not that manifesting is wrong. It's not that being in love is wrong. It's not that chasing after people and like wanting a really beautiful relationship is wrong. Those things are beautiful and you can have those. But where we start to go a little bit wrong with it is when we approach manifestation by feeling less than, by not finding the frequency within, and by feeling like there's something that we have to go out there to get. That is never the case, okay? Like, we're living in this backward system where when you reach for something, it slides away, because this is a backwards system, okay? It's like, it's literally like, if you reach, that means it's over there, and so now it's over there, and you're gonna have to keep reaching, and you're never gonna find it because you're reaching, meaning you don't have it right now, meaning that it's over there. That is why these are pitfalls. If you chase after a twin flame, if you chase after certain manifestations, if you chase after abundance, if you chase after wanting others to validate you and recognize you, it's not wrong to want people to love you, because in heavenly realms, we're just like unconditionally loving, and everyone is unconditionally loving. But where we go wrong here is in seeking what we already know we have in the external, because that pushes it away in this backward system that is trying to constantly stall angelic souls and angelic beings, okay? And so again, it's like we need to unite together and realize, like, what is the actual intent of this soul in front of me? They might have this kind of DNA. They might have this other kind of stuff. You don't just shut the door and say, like, you're evil, I'm not going to associate, okay? You have to understand, like, how aware is this being that they can be manipulated in certain ways, and how are they dealing with it? Do they need assistance? Is it something that they're actively working towards harmonizing within their own DNA and within their own field? If it is, then of course, and if they're Krystically aligned, then they are supposed to be working with us, okay? We are, like, literally what I keep hearing in the field is bridge zone. We are like the living bridge between the realms. So we need these kinds of beings that are hybridized to bridge the gap between very demonic, let's say, souls and very angelic souls, because otherwise they would not be able to see eye to eye, and we're coded for that specific reason, because we are the living bridge. Because we are coded differently, and because we're forming a living bridge, okay, so say that, like, all of the very, very demonic beings, I'm sorry, I don't have another word for it right now, are on one side, and then you have all of the angelic beings on one side. Even that's more like horizontal. I mean, not horizontal, but vertical. And then, I mean, you have both gradients, okay? Horizontal is more like timelines, and then vertical is more like densities, okay? So you have all of those as well. Like, you have different U's in different timelines, but vertically we're ascending. That might be another video to make for you. But because we're coded differently, some of us have had very hard missions. A lot of beings have been trapped in the fallen realms because they were sent on such dangerous and hard missions, because they were specifically coded, like they were trying to get it right, to where, like I said, they were creating these, like, super soldier kind of beings that could withstand a certain level of darkness. It's like, how much can we dive in that direction while still maintaining integrity within the angelic and Krystic mission to help to bring this place back into balance and find freedom, okay? So there's a gradient of different DNA activations that have occurred, and then when we're here in the timelines, they can activate at different levels depending on what that soul is choosing to do with their free will in this now moment. So depending on what you're choosing to do, those are the different DNA sequences of code that you will be activating. And so that's why we are that living bridge, because some of us are coded to be able to withstand more darkness than others. And that's why we have to work together, because, as I said, it's like it's like a living bridge. It's not something external, artificial. It's like external in the sense that we, from our soul inspiration, are inspired to take action, to move and create things in very specific ways. That is literally heaven on earth, us serving our purpose, because as angelic beings, we want to be of service to source, to the all, to maintain harmony, because it's beautiful when things are that way. And so we're not creating something external all by ourselves. We're not ascending all by ourselves. We're not becoming rich all by ourselves. And it's not like that. It's like we're supposed to work together and become that living bridge, so that we can bring as many souls as possible back to the God source, or at least back to the place where they can truly, freely experience freedom and choose what they want to do, instead of being trapped in enslavement and loosh harvesting mechanisms and false grids and false light. Instead of being trapped there, they can actually experience God-sourced freedom and maybe choose differently. Maybe they don't want to be slaves. Maybe they don't want to play that game anymore. They're supposed to be allowed to leave when they truly understand the laws of harmony and unity within the universe. But that's why we're supposed to work together. We're not supposed to shut the door in each other's faces and say, like, oh, you're evil and you're so bad. You can recognize that people are coded in specific ways, but instead of seeing that as a detriment, see it as an asset. Because when that person that you think, and now I'm speaking to a lot of the Krystic community, when you think that a person who is coded with a lot of, like, say, Anunnaki or Draco or that kind of DNA strain, or even reptilian, they are aligned to the Krystic mission and they're inspired by that, it's actually an asset, because that means that they have the ability to interact with those beings way more than someone who's not coded for it, okay? They just have that like external capacity and durability to be able to withstand certain levels of darkness that other beings cannot. And it's actually a strength and an asset to the Krystic mission for us to help those beings, and not just to, like, shut them out. Now I understand that there's been a lot of wars and a lot of torture and a lot of really horrible things have happened, and sometimes it can be really tricky to fully be certain of what a certain being's actual alignments are. Like maybe they're highly coded with a lot of different like dark strains, and they have a little bit of angelic strains, and you're like, well, are they actually Krystically aligned, or are they trying to infiltrate the movement? And that's where you need to be using your own discernment and looking at that person's actions. Looking like you need to be able to read code beyond just the actual like letters and the code. You need to look at the person's soul, their soul journey, and what their intentions are right now. So it gets a lot more complicated, and it's not just about looking at their DNA. You can't just dismiss people because of their DNA. They are an asset to the Krystic mission when they are aligned, and it's up to us to give them the benefit of the doubt to see if they really want to be part of the Krystic mission to bring back balance and harmony into the world, or if they really are just trying to create chaos, because there are certain beings that are trying to do that, but sometimes you won't see it. So that's why you need to be more on your stuff and activate your higher self, your God self, your Rishik self, to tell you from that super high vantage point and perspective. When you activate your God self to tell you, like, is this person in alignment? Should I allow them in my life? They might say yes, allow them into your life. And then as soon as that person stops being in alignment, you will be redirected out of their life, okay? So that's how it works. Everyone serves a purpose. Even if they aren't part of the Krystic mission, sometimes you are supposed to interact with them, because guess what? People get, they just learn from us being around each other, right? So this is another thing that I've been seeing. Some beings will take another being's coding and cloak themselves in it to seem more friendly. So if you are really doing your daily meditations and you're properly aligned and in communication with your God self, you'll be able to tell, is this person using a cloak for the purpose of deception and trying to deceive and infiltrate? Or is this person actually trying to just protect themselves, and that's why they're using this cloak? Are they trying to be manipulative and cloak themselves in another being's energetic aura? Because it's like an energetic scent, okay? That's how energy works. It's like an energetic scent that they code themselves in to be able to approach more angelic beings, because they're like, oh, look at me, I'm just as angelic as you, or whatever. And again, like, these are just, I don't even like using these labels, but it helps to communicate certain concepts. So just, if you are aligned to your God self, you will know when it's no longer good for you to be interacting with certain people, and you'll know when it's okay to do so. And again, when you really, really get down to it, you have to remember that you're in a fallen system. There's these pitfalls that you can fall into if you don't properly detach, meaning that you ultimately trust God's source has the final say, and everything is already occurring within the God source. This is all an illusion, and we are all one, and we have never left God's source, truly, and that is the reality of it all. We're just having this journey and this perception that has already happened in the past, okay? You can just play a role as lovingly as you want and as vividly, okay? But it's not that it's an illusion. It's just like everything's happening at once. We don't understand time, how it really is. Time is like separation. Separation and time are creating each other at the same time. But there's things that are existing outside of that particular vantage point, okay? And it's all at one. We are all at one. So detach from feeling defeated. Detach from learn to detach from absolutely everything. Even learn to detach from your desire for us all to ascend together. Detach from wanting us to wake everyone up from having a successful mission. Just trust. So instead of instead of fully attaching to some specific outcome, what you do is you just fully fall into trust. So it's like a pivoting movement that puts you more into alignment with the heroic God timeline, which is that God is obviously very victorious, and that's all you need to trust. It's more of a feeling that magnetizes you and places you in correct alignment for you to receive everything that you're meant to receive. Think about how brave you have been to even step into the system where everything is so hard compared to what you've been in, which is the heavenly realms, right? How brave you must have been to step into a body and be a totally defenseless little baby and have so many years of being so defenseless and just trusting God's source to actually guide you. So just instead of being completely attached to a specific outcome, fall into trust and let that guide you, okay? After you do your inspired action and you take your inspired movement and you create what you know you're meant to create, then just fall back into trust. Like every night, every moment that you can remember, that you don't have to hold on to things so tightly, just fall back into trusting that it's all in perfect and divine order and perfect and divine alignment, and you're just letting the God self do it, and you won't go wrong with that. But again, we're all just figments of God's imagination, so detach and fall into trust and dissolve back into the all, where we are all one, and victory is absolutely 100% already ours.